Thanks for joining today. Our presentation is a partnership update on how the veNEAR Foundation has been working with Gauntlet to focus on new governance and new ecosystem growth through the House of Stake. Our agenda for today is as follows. We're going to start by taking a historical look at progress we've made, looking back in the most recent months, making progress towards a proposal implementation, a look at the current state, what's in flight, what we're working on right this minute, and then looking forward, the progress we can expect to see in the next few months as we see an exciting future for veNEAR overall and within the House of Stake as well. First, I'll introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jake. I'm a senior protocol strategist at Gauntlet. I've been with Gauntlet for about 2 years. Prior to Gauntlet, I was working in TradFi and fintech and data science startups in the non-crypto world, focusing on optimization of companies' infrastructure and intelligence. But now I'm here at Gauntlet, focusing on the protocol growth and ecosystem growth team. If you don't know Gauntlet, we are an economic modeling and DeFi services company, focusing on working with the best DeFi protocols and teams and dApps in all of crypto. So we try to work on providing infrastructure intelligence and incentive optimization, as well as things like treasury management, risk management for perpetual protocols, DEXs, and lending protocols for all of DeFi. So we'll jump right into it. Looking back at our partnerships so far, let's talk about what Gauntlet's original scope was. So you guys might have seen in June of this year, we put up our announcement for our partnership. There's a lot of details that go into the partnership, but we'll just start with kind of the two high-level themes being governance and ecosystem growth. So what does governance mean? DeFi ecosystems as a whole, both within DeFi and then in the real world, like the news most recently, you'll see that governance is still something that needs to iterate and continuously improve. So what we were designed to do for veNEAR was work with the foundation to design a stake-weighted governance framework and propose an actual solution to the rest of the community. In parallel and in accordance with that proposal, we want to focus on ecosystem growth, utilizing our expertise with things like incentive optimization and incentive intelligence to implement targeted initiatives to encourage on-chain activity and actual organic user flow. But why is that important? And why is that as important not only to DeFi as a whole, but also to the veNEAR ecosystem specifically? So there's a ton of context in here that the veNEAR ecosystem has gone through, a bunch of experiences that they would have a much better job of explaining than this one slide. But high level, veNEAR was founded on a proof of humanity framework, which means that one person gets one vote. And it doesn't matter if it's Ilya proposing a code change or some new user, they have the same amount of power in executing a code or a grant proposal. This was a really nice and egalitarian idea that theoretically would be really great if it worked out. But I think objectively there are a lot of issues that the veNEAR ecosystem has experienced, which is what led this proposal and this partnership to come to be. Just a high-level overview of what some of those issues were is that when there's one-to-one voting, it's really hard to get people to agree on things, which means that things like proposing funding for grants and new apps and token launches and different partnerships within the ecosystem, it was very difficult to get those across, which led to a very low number of success rates for grant proposals and execution within veNEAR compared to other big L1 ecosystems in the industry. And as that happened, there was not a ton of incentive alignment when it came to engagement and participation for the governance ecosystem and the voters themselves. So you saw a dramatic decrease in NDC voting participation, going from 500 votes to about 100 over the course of 2 years. So pretty dramatic drop-off. So what is the solution? Again, you guys might have seen this proposal online, but our proposal was the House of Stake. This was developed in tight collaboration with the veNEAR Foundation, coming from a lot of ideas that Ilya has proposed over the years, as well as tons of research that we've done, both with veNEAR and within our DeFi experience, looking at ecosystems such as Arbitrum, Optimism, Ethereum, Uniswap, to understand what's been working for them and what hasn't, and what we can apply to get some nice, wise lessons for the veNEAR ecosystem as they get ready for their next chapter. So in those recent months, we did end up actually proposing the House of Stake document and the House of Stake blog post. What this does to apply to the pains that the NEAR ecosystem was facing was it implies the stake-weighted voting, which is, again, not a novel idea. This is something that's used widely across DeFi. It rewards people who are economically incentivized, economically aligned within the ecosystem to have more of a say when it comes to things like protocol upgrades, security measures, or new launches. It also introduced the veNEAR token. This token allows users to be rewarded for engagement, rewarded for locking themselves in to being committed to the NEAR ecosystem, and gives more of incentive alignment that we didn't see in the previous framework. And we also established a new flow of committees and organizations with their own roles and responsibilities that all coordinate and collaborate together to make sure that proposals are actually secure, that they're efficient, and that they actually go through on-chain so that things can actually happen. So then you'll see that there's a lot of comments and questions on this post. It got a lot of attention, which was really great for us. We love the feedback. We went through one iteration of feedback after a mechanism change was recommended to us by the community, which was extremely helpful. I'm getting a lot of questions this week from other NEAR ecosystem members about when is this going to be live, and then something we'll talk about later in the presentation. So again, this presentation was, this proposal was many pages long. I'm not going to dive into all the deep math that our data science team did. Happy to get into that if we have more time or in private discussion. I'm just going to go over the high-level flow of the proposed framework that we presented. So what you'll see here, this is just from the ecosystem perspective, not the user perspective. We have the start of the process being the proposal being made by any NEAR member. Typical ways that you do this is you create a forum post, you do some community outreach, you get feedback from people, you take in comments, maybe you update your proposal, maybe you don't, but you do that on the forums, and you make a proposal with specific actions, contract calls, or recommendations to the ecosystem themselves. There's then a temperature check phase of around 7 days. This is, again, pretty standard with other major L1 ecosystems to give the community time to provide feedback to make sure that this proposal is sound. And then there is a pre-screening committee, which is a new committee that we've recommended in our framework. This committee is going to be made up of experienced NEAR members who are vested in the success of the NEAR ecosystem, as well as potentially new elected members who are responsible for reviewing the proposal in detail and making a recommendation to the community about if this proposal is one that they would move forward with. The real effect of that committee, is to allow for either a majority or a supermajority for the community to then vote on. So if the screening committee were to say, hey, this looks like a good proposal, we reviewed it at length, here's our recommendation to move forward, then it would only require 51% for the community to pass this proposal via an on-chain governance vote. If they were to reject the proposal for any number of reasons that they think this proposal might not be successful for the NEAR ecosystem, then it would have to be a supermajority, meaning that over 3 out of every 4 people would have to accept this proposal as something that they think is an improvement for NEAR. Following that decision by the screening committee, there is an actual on-chain vote, which allows anybody with veNEAR stake tokens to weigh in on the ecosystem's future and decide if this vote is something that they want to execute on-chain. So that means anybody with veNEAR tokens, whether you have 1 or 1,000, you can submit your vote. Of course, the more tokens you have, the more voting power you can contribute. That phase is 14 days. That allows, again, for more vetting by more people. It allows voters to provide more discourse on the forums or elsewhere, maybe through a spaces, to understand if this post is something that they all want to agree on. And post the successful approval of that vote, the on-chain contract calls within that proposal will be executed. So what that might look like is it might look like a security upgrade. It might look like funds being sent from one contract to another, or it could look like a fundamental change for the NEAR L1. As that passes, things break, things happen. A normal or a standard approach for most of these ecosystems is to have some sort of emergency implementation flow in place. Things like crisis management, things like avoiding a hack, to hedge those things from happening, you have things like a Security Council, which is another new committee that we've recommended, which will have members that the NEAR Foundation and Gauntlet suggests with expertise in security and chain security to make sure that things like hacks or protocol freezes can only happen when they need to. From a voting perspective, we also recommended endorsed delegates. This is something that Arbitrum and Optimism have also dabbled with. What that means is that there will be, just like in the voting in of the U.S. with senators and representatives, there will be kind of larger parties with more responsibility to contribute to the NEAR ecosystem with specific expertise. They will be endorsed by both the foundation and the community. There will also be regular delegates, so you can self-delegate. You can recommend a non-endorsed member to delegate to. And what this allows for is that people like me, who I don't have smart contract auditing experience, I might not trust myself to look through every line of code for NEAR, but I can trust someone like OpenZeppelin or other smart contract auditors that NEAR has used in the past, and I can delegate my vote for those sorts of decisions. So what this all looks like, as a whole flow, you guys can see here. Proposals will come in, voters will provide their input, and then as the different security measures and committees give their own input, these proposals will either be accepted or rejected. So what does this look like in the current state? What's going on right now? We are building. We are in collaboration with veNEAR, another seasoned veteran in the NEAR ecosystem, to actually implement the proposal and framework that we've recommended. So they're in the process of building this and getting it audited right now. We put some tweets up to give you guys some timeline of expectations, but of course some things take faster or some things take slower than expected. We're also doing some of that ecosystem growth that we talked about in our initial proposal, initial partnership proposal, where we talk about and focus on incentives for ref finance. That's the major DEX on NEAR right now. We're seeing pretty strong results so far. We've distributed around $250,000 in incentives for ref, which means that we're basically incentivizing people to provide liquidity for all of the most important token pools on the #1 DEX in NEAR right now. We're seeing pretty strong results. Via our KPIs, we're incentivizing volume, so we want people to actually trade these tokens, and we're rewarding pools that do get that volume. While ref took a small hit in the past month as there was some market volatility, we're still seeing good growth for pools that we are actually targeting. And we're also seeing a really interesting trend with bridged assets having the highest ROI within our strategies. When you think of things like chain abstraction, this is a good indicator that people are bridging assets to NEAR, which is very, very important. So looking forward, House of Stake go live and community enablement. So we're really excited for the House of Stake to go live. We're really excited for the community to get a chance to participate and submit proposals. What can anybody in the NEAR ecosystem do to help? You can get those proposals ready. If you have a recommendation to the ecosystem, if you want to get your project funded out of the NEAR treasury, start to write those proposals if you haven't already, and start to get some community feedback within the appropriate NEAR channels. Be prepared to stake your NEAR and vote. So a lot of people are staking their NEAR through things like stake NEAR alternatives, or you might just be holding NEAR, but you have to be ready to get those those wallets ready, get those ledgers ready, and make sure you can get veNEAR to actually be a contributor. And then think about who you want to delegate to. So we have not disclosed, we've not published our call for delegates yet, but we are getting ready to endorse delegates or recommend endorse delegates, and we want to make sure that you guys have as much time as you need to vet them yourselves, ask questions, and of course suggest your own. Here are our next steps. We're hoping for the complete contract development, complete deadline of end of year. We are hoping to start establishing delegates and endorse delegates within the beginning of Q1, and we're hoping to see the first proposals go live for end of Q1. So we have a very busy next few months coming up. Ways to get in touch, that's my Twitter and Telegram. Absolutely love any and all questions. There's a lot of deep math and data science that I had a lot of trouble, processing on my own time. So if you guys have any questions, please come and ask. If you want to get a better understanding for what Gauntlet does overall, or what we're continuing to do for NEAR, again, please reach out. We love questions. And thank you for your time today.